Hello and welcome. This is few remarks on lecture 1, object-oriented programming. Um, Let me check the slide. So this is week 1, basics of Java. I will start with the first remark on the name of identifier or variable in Java. Again, the name of a variable in Java will be similar to the name in Python. And let me give you an example of when the name of the variable will be valid versus not. So a name variable must be character, no blanks in between, and it will accept special characters, underscore, and $sign. It will not accept anything else. One thing you need to pay attention, you cannot start a variable with a number. This will produce an error, as you can see here. You will see here, invalid. If you look here, you will see cannot find symbol or invalid variable name. Also, you cannot have a space. This will produce a compile error. In addition to, now you can have underscore, $sign in the between, that's fine. You can have number in between, that's fine. But you cannot have special characters like hash, for example, it will not work, or at, it will not work. The first character must be a character, alphabet, or underscore to have a valid identifier in Java. Okay, so this is the first remark on variable name. Again, here you will see that a description of what is valid, what is invalid, and here's an exercise as you can see here. Okay, so the second remark will be about here's a named constant in Java. You'll notice that you can define a read-only variables in Java. And the way you do it, you define a regular variable and you add the keyword final. So final means this variable cannot be changed. This variable cannot be changed. Let's try it. So if you want, for example, here, if I say number of pages equal 900. So this is a typical variable name. It has underscores. Now, if I try, for example, to add 10 to this variable, nothing, no problem. Why? Because this variable is a regular variable. Once you try to say final here, automatically this variable, after it has been set to 900, it cannot be changed. Now, this variable is constant, or in Java they call it final, which means it cannot be changed. So the value cannot be changed, cannot be incremented, cannot be reset, and so on and so forth. So if you try to increment 10 to it, you will get error. If you try to reset it to a certain value, it will be error. However, you can use it. You can use it somewhere. You can define another variable, let's say half the book, and you say number underscore of pages divided by 2. This is fine because here you are not changing it, you are using it. Okay, so this is another remark on final. Okay, let me take one operator that is very popular in all programming languages is pre-increment and post-increment, plus plus in two ways. In Python, I don't think there is plus plus. However, plus plus indicate plus equal 1, which means advance the variable by 1, or minus minus 1, minus minus, which indicates reduce or decrement the variable with 1. Let's have an exercise and see how can we use this operator here. Okay, so here's the exercise. Let's see in this exercise, let me adjust it a little bit so that you can see what's going on. Let me comment this out, and let me say here in the main so that I can run it, pre-post exercise, so that I can run it. Let's look at the exercise. So I have two variables, a equals 0 and b equals 0, as you can see here. Notice that I can define two variables in the same line with comma, not semicolon separated. If you want to have them in separate line, you can say b equals 0 like this and remove this one. But for simplicity, I can put comma and I say b, I can combine them together. So both of them will have the value 0. Now a equal 5, okay, and let's say for example here b equal 2 plus a. Now this is problematic things, which means, what do you mean by plus a? Plus a means, or the existence of this expression in calculating b, you need to do two things to a. One thing is increment a by 1, okay, and the other thing is use a in the calculation of b, okay. So as you can see here, you need to remember this. When you have plus plus or minus minus, even though if the plus plus or minus one in front, okay, that means you need to do the following. You need to increment or decrement first, it depends, okay, by 1, and after that use the value in the calculation. So let's see here. So what the value of b here is gonna be 2 plus, now plus a, okay, that means a currently having the value of 5. So you need to increment a, which means a becomes, let me put it here, a currently equal 5. Now when you increment a, it becomes 6. Now you need to take 6 in the calculation rather than 5. So here 2 plus 6, you end up with 8. So b value will be 8, and a value will be after increment, of course, because it's printed here. I am printing a and printing b. You will get the value of b, which is 8. So if I run, you will get the value as I explained. You will have a will have 6 value, and b will have 8 value. It's a little, a is 6 and b is 8. Okay, now let's change it a little bit. So instead of a plus here, let me make the other way around. So here these two steps will be reversed. You see it previously, this is the step. So you're gonna use a first, and afterwards, so this is step 2, and after that increment or decrement. So now what you're gonna do when you use a plus in the calculation of b, of course currently a is 5 and b equal currently is 0, as you can see here at this moment here. Okay, let me write it here. So a equal 5, b equal 0. It hasn't changed. Now here at this moment here, in this line, you need to calculate b. So b will be equal 2 plus, now a plus. So the plus after a. So take the value of a, which is currently 5, okay, and to do the calculation of b. And for a also incremented by 1, which means a becomes also 6. So as a result of that, if you print, what do you get? You get 5 for b and a equal 6. Now if you run again, you will get something similar. If I run, I will see here it's a little populated, but here as you can see a equals 6 as normal, but b has become 7 because we took the value of, in the calculation of b here, we took the value of a before increment. So this is why we call it post pre-condition. Okay. Now let me keep it this way. Now we know what the value of a and b, and let me explain that in another context. Okay. So here I know a and b, and let me write this here. Let's say, of course, as you can see in both cases, you will see that a will have the value 6, yes, in all cases. In the two examples, a is having the value of 6. Let me put it in another context. Let's say a plus equals 6. Will this print something or not in the if statement? So let's look again, what does it mean? Now, for sure here I know a equals 6. At this moment, a is 6. If you don't believe me, let me comment this out. If I print these together here in the same example, you'll see A will have the value 6. You see that A equals 6. Okay, so we'll focus on A. Now we'll have it in the if statement. Now A plus equals 6. Is it the case? What this if statement will calculate? This is a regular. This is a logical expression, either true or false. Now you'll see that again. If statement will try to take the value of A, and afterwards, and it will calculate the logical expression, and after that, it will increment A. So A6, okay, so it will take 6. Is it equal to 6? Yes, so he will print A equals 6 is true. And if you run, you will see that the case. So it will print A equal 6. You see A equals 6 is true. However, if you print A afterward here, A equal plus A, you'll see that A becomes 7, by the way. Why? Because it's true that if statement took the value of A as 6, but also after calculating the logical expression, which it turns out to be true, because 6 equals 6, you will see that A is incremented and it becomes what? 7. So if I print A at the end, you'll see that as you can see here, A is 6 equals true, but at the end, this line of code, when I printed, you will get A equal what? 7, which is the current value of 7. Okay. Now, at the same time, let's see if I do the following. If plus A equals 6, is it true or not? You will see that it's not true. Why? Because if statement will increment the A first and afterward compare to 6. So if you increment A first, A6, increment 7. Is 7 equals 6? No. So it will not even print A equals 6. And at the end, it will go down here and it will print A equal 7. If you run again, you will see that clearly. As you can see here, it didn't print this statement. A equals 6 is true. Why? Because the condition it was evaluated, the logical expression here, was evaluated to false. Because if statement, when calculate the logical expression, it will increment A, because this is a pre-increment. So it will increment A is 6, you increment it to 7. Now it will use 7 to compare it with the other side, which is 6, which is 7 equal 6. That's not true, so it will not execute the if statement or the statement inside the then. And here it's a statement where we print A and it is 7. So it's a good idea if you try this by yourself and see what is the value at the beginning. So for example, here 0 and 0 at the beginning. The first step 0 and 0. Afterward A equal 5, so here it becomes 5. Okay, and here you need to calculate, of course, A stays here as it is in the second line here. And the third line here, if you look at the third line, you need A didn't change. Or no, it changed, as you can see here. A plus plus. You'll see A plus plus changed. So at the end of this calculation, A will be 6. However, 7, what value of 7? I'm sorry, what value of B? The value of B here, 2 plus, is A before or after change? Is it before change, which is 5, or after change, which is 6? Of course, this is plus, which means increment, and after that, take the value. If you increment 5 to 6, you will take 6. That means this will be 8. And the same time here, the same token, you will see that A didn't change, but here will be 7 because you take the value not after increment, but before. This is about increment decrement operation. You can use different, you can use it inside the loops and others. The next remark about plus, using plus in concatenating or adding strings together. I think this is typical one in also in Python, but in Java it is very similar, by the way. So let me take this away and say printing here. which is the function that I have. So as you can see here, I am having two strings defined for me, x equal a, capital A, and y equal b, and I'm trying to print one by one. Okay, let me comment them and see what do I get here. Here's a big comment for the whole thing. Okay, 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 so this multi-line comment. Okay, now if I print x and y, it will print normally what x has and what y has, which is a and b. So if I run them, you can of course write the code and run them, and you'll see that you will have a, the first statement is a, and the second b as normal. Now what's interesting, if I try to add things, so if I add to x, y, what will happen? This is called concatenation, of course, which means we'll concatenate a, the value of x, which is a, with the value of y, which is b, and you will get what? You will get a b, as you can see, or as expected. So a b, and this is the statement that will have a b for this statement. Okay, so I can do something interesting. I can say x plus y equal, and you will see that what will happen is that it will be ab. Okay, if I apply x plus y, you will get a and b concatenate to it. Now, interestingly enough, what if you do something like this? If you say x plus 10. Now, this is an integer, and this is what? A string. Typically, a string, when it's added to anything else, the result is a string. Okay, so x10, it will compile to x value is a, 10 becomes a10. Okay, so if I run, you will see that a10 will be printed. As you can see here, a10 will be printed, the last one. Okay, now the same thing if you are going to do, for example, a double here. If you add to y, which is b, the value 4.3, okay, it will be also string, and it will be taken as a string. So b 4.3 will be printed, and this is something typical also in Python, if I'm not mistaken. Now let's do something different, which means, what if I say y plus, and I have an expression, Boolean expression here. So Boolean expression typically will result in either true or false. And I'm saying x equal a. Is x equal a? Yes. So that's true. So what will be printed is y, which is b, and the value true. So you will get y true. B true, I'm sorry. You will get b true. So everything, as you can see here, b true. Everything concatenated to a string, you will end up with as string. What if you have, for example, several value like this? Okay, this is a little bit what interesting, because you need to know how to calculate this. Typically, expressions are calculated from left to right, unless there are brackets. There is no brackets here. These three values are calculated from, there's no brackets between them, so left to right. So x is a plus 10, you will end up with a10 plus 20.3f. Also, the left hand side here is string plus a number, also string. So you'll end up with a10 20.3. Of course, the f will not be used because it's not part of the number. It's just an indicator. And as you can see, you'll see it here. You see? Now, what if you want to override that? You want, for example, to calculate the numbers here, and after that concatenate it to the variable. What you need to do is use brackets. So here these brackets indicate that 10 plus 20, which means these numbers. So it will be calculated, which end up with 30.3. And this number, when it is added to x, which is a, you will get a 33.3, of course, as you can see here. You see that? And this is about printing. Okay, so if I go back here, you'll see all of this happening here. Go over it, use it. And as a final remarks, you need to pay attention that strings, sometimes you use a string value. However, you would like to convert it to an integer or float value. There's a set of functions that can do that. For example, if you have a string like this one, and you would like, this is a string because there's double quotation, double quotation. If you want to convert it to an integer, use integer parse integer, and the result save it inside what? An integer value. If you have a float, okay, also use float parse float, and the result will be saved in a float variable. And same thing for double. However, you need to pay attention. Sometimes if you provide something wrong, like this one here, there's a dollar sign here before the number. This is not a number. If Java tried to convert this to double, it will not work. What you will get an error or an exception. So you need to pay attention to that. There are many exercises here. I hope that you do them one by one. If you need help, let me know. Thank you very much.